You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
You know that sound, people. That's right. It's the one and only Invisible Unfiltered Band. It is a new ep of the pod, episode 3 of Unfiltered. Casey Stern with you. So good to have you. Welcome aboard. Got a ton of fun and a lot of craziness coming, and a great guest here in just a few minutes, and a good friend in the wonderful, the incomparable Dusty Baker. I've met a lot of people in the last 20 years I've been doing this. And, you know, they always say, like, and they're right, don't meet your heroes. You ever hear people say that? They're always like, don't meet your heroes. Like, you know, I know if I met Springsteen, he'd be as cool as he seems. Who are we kidding? Right? So that's off the board for me. But for you people, I met some of your heroes, and some of them exceed the expectations that you have as humans. And I promise you some don't, right? It's why I'm wearing a shirt, if you could tell. People, not a big fan. Not of you, of course. And if you subscribe and like our content, whether here or at me on Twitter to tell me so, or the folks that Believe and tell them that I'm doing a somewhat mediocre job, I know I need improvement. I keep expectations low, people. That's how I roll. But you meet people and you see kind of the way that they are from afar, and you realize just how absolutely wrong we get the judging a book by its cover, right? There are a lot of people that I've met in this business that you think, oh my God, like that's a great clubhouse guy, or it must be like an amazing person. Then you find out like the people in their own clubhouse don't even like them, right? And there are people that are listening to this right now on the pod or watching it on YouTube that are athletes that whether I know them or don't, and thanks for listening and watching, that I'm sure are saying, yeah, we know. Like, it sucked hearing that guy was so beloved and you wanted so badly to be like, he sucks. There's a lot of that. Dusty is like, he seems like the coolest, nicest dude in the world. He's even better than that. So getting a chance to be his friend and, you know, in working with him at Turner and, you know, building this friendship with him over the year, he is a trip. I was saying this to somebody yesterday, but I'll tell this story behind his back, maybe even get back into it when he gets in here. But I think of this song like Maroon 5, like I'm at a payphone, and I never understood that song. Like, I know what a payphone is. A lot of you don't. I know what a payphone is, right? But I never understood that song came out. Was that like the early 2000s, like the 90s? And I'm like, there ain't nobody using a payphone anymore, dude. Like, I like Adam Levine. I like, you know, Maroon 5's cool. They're fine. But like, shouldn't you be putting that song out in 1985? Not like 2005? Well, I bring that up because a lot of you have been in hotels, and I'm going to bring this up later in the podcast. I recently have been and spent some time in a hotel and have traveled most of my life working, so certainly plenty as well. But you go into a hotel, right? Things are different than they used to be in hotel life when you're on vacation, all right? There's no one, and I mean unless, let's say no one. If you're in like a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout group and you are at the hotel with like, you know, 20 other, you know, kids in that group or people, right? Or you're there traveling for like the Little League World Series and a kid and a parent in a room, or you're in a spelling bee or something of that sort. The person who's probably running the thing, right? Like your group leader or whoever is in charge, the camp counselor, like whatever, you know, their title is, they probably going to go from room 410 and they're going to call you in room 217. The phone's going to ring and you're going to answer that phone. And it's not weird that it's not the front desk and that it's the other person who called from room to room in a hotel. It's not odd. That's not weird. They got it. Hey, we're wrangling everybody together. Let's meet downstairs in 30 minutes. Or, hey, don't forget, like the word you keep screwing up in this spelling bee is whatever. I actually remember I think it was like maybe fourth grade, and I had gone real far in a spelling bee, and I'll never forget, like, I was so mad. Like, if I had lost on some long word, like automatopoeia or Menkiewicz or something, I would have been fine with that. Carousel. Really? Like, I still won't go on one. It's like, how did I get this wrong? But if you're in that kind of scenario, I get it. Like, they calling you in the hotel room and you're answering the phone. That's fine. That's cool. I bring this up because my guy Dusty Baker, um, he's the only person when I say, I don't want to over exaggerate because I do that. I don't know if it's because it happened a lot in Seinfeld. He and I went to the same high school. Maybe that's where I got that Lara David thing in me where that happens. Like, hey, I've been waiting here at this restaurant for like 2 weeks. And I used to do that with like the delivery people. And I'd be like, I'm waiting because it always feels like because you're so hungry. I've been waiting for like an hour and a half for this food. And you used to kind of get away with that. And sometimes it'd even be true, right? Unfortunately, like, why am I waiting? Where'd you get this pizza? Italy? Like, what are you doing? And I lived in New York at the time. Like, there's pizza everywhere. I should have walked, right? But I'm telling you that now you can't do that because clearly, like hotels, things have changed where if you go and you call and you say, hey, I've been waiting, dude, for like an hour and 15 minutes. Where the hell's this pizza? They're going to be like, sir, actually, you ordered this at 9:37 p.m. It's now 9:54. And then they'll shoot you a screen grab of like what went through the DoorDash app. And then you feel like an idiot. Oh, it's been 17 minutes. Did I add that right? I think it is, right? Dusty, when I worked with him for the first time and we spent our first year together, I think it was like maybe the fourth day that I had met Dusty before in scrums where you're holding up a microphone or done an interview or two over my time covering the game. And yeah, I remember spending some time in his office in Cincinnati when Jim Bowden and I were together. Who knows him? There were times where I talked to Dusty. We weren't friends, right? Like, there's a lot of that in this industry. Oh yeah, we're friends. And then I mean, I even got through it. It's like, no, okay, I guess we're not friends. But on like the fourth day that I knew him, all right, I remember him asking me, we were meeting downstairs, all of us, to go over to the studio. And I remember him asking me why I didn't call him back. And I felt bad. Like, because I mean, look, especially when, I mean, who the hell am I? I'm nobody, right? So, it's Dusty Baker. I mean, geez, look at what this guy has accomplished in his life and in his career, right? So I'm trying to like do all those right things. Trying to make sure that all the things that need to happen are going to happen. Like, I'm going to be, and it's not in any kind of a way that's not sincere. Like, hey, like well, make sure we get off to the right start, especially when you're working with somebody too on a set. Like, you want them, you want them to trust you. That's a huge part of this, right? When you're doing the job that you're doing, when you're anchoring a desk like that, right? With legends of the game. I remember him as, why didn't you call me back? I felt terrible. Then I can't say this without laughing. Then he proceeds to tell me, I must have not seen, the blinking light. We're not talking about the one that tells you that ring of death on your Xbox that it's over, right? The blinking light on your phone in your room? Like, if you've been in your hotel a while and like, maybe you're having a good time, you hit do not disturb last night and you still got it on the door. It's like noon the next day. And like, there's no doubt. I don't even need to look. I know that light is, the housekeeping folks telling me like, hey, we tried to get in your room and it's cool. Don't worry. Like, I didn't want you in there anyway at the time. It's no big deal. No one looks at that light. Like, you don't even know no one looks at the hotel phone. You're not doing anything unless it's, where the hell are my towels? And I know it sounds terrible, but like, hey, how low is the bar open? Right? Like, you're hitting 0 or like whatever the front desk button is. He left. Not only did he call, he had my number. I mean, we're working. I mean, look, I mean, we're working together 4 days, but 4 days in a postseason on national team, like, we got my number, right, dude? Like, you can call me. I thought there's something wrong with my phone. He not only called my hotel room from his hotel room, but he left me a message on the hotel phone. Now, look, it's one thing, my phone died. Shoot, like, I'm in 510. I know you're in 514. Let me just hit this thing up 9514 or whatever you got to do, right? And boom. And hey, Dust, like, do you have an extra tie? Like, I can't find mine or whatever, right? Like, there's some emergency. Okay. Who in the world would leave a message on a hotel on a hotel room? Like, who would do that? Like, you're not. Some people don't even set up, and I hate this, by the way, their own phone voicemail. Like, there's nothing worse than, like, especially like if you're starting to date somebody and it's like the first time you call them. Like, there's this moment where you call them for the first time and like you went out and like you waited like the obligatory 48 hours or whatever, like your own rules are. Everybody's got their own stupid rules. And like you make that phone call, you all been there, people. You're hoping they don't answer. It's the stupidest thing. Like, I can't take you out again if you don't answer. But I feel like if I call and leave a message, then it's like, hey, I did my thing, ball into your court. And if you don't like me, then you just won't call back. I don't have to wonder, like, did I write the number wrong? Like, did an 8 look like a 3? Was a 4 looking like a 9? Like, maybe I should look them up in the phone book. I don't know. Like, you leave a voicemail, and then you don't know what to say. And then it's like, I swear she's going to hate when I say this. I'm sure my mother does. She must at least sometimes run out because I'm telling you, her voicemails are like, I don't know what the total running time allowed is. There must be like 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Like maybe they allow like 2 minutes and 18 seconds. I'm not sure. But these things are like real long. And sometimes you run out and you're in the middle of a sentence. Can I end it that way? You got to like kind of redo it. Who would leave a voicemail on a hotel phone? By the time I get it, I'm going to see you. You might as well walk and knock on my door. So I'll get that story out before we chat with Dust here. But because there will be some others that are, I promise you, they're special from the time that I've spent with him. But it is just really strange to me when you get into a scenario and you've got a guy who is calling you from his hotel phone to your hotel room and then leaving a voicemail. It is not usually what you would do. But what we get to do, which is a great thing, is welcome in here the great and the powerful, the wonderful, the wizard himself, Dusty Bake. So here he is without further ado. Bake, I got to start here because you, in a normal interview, like, we'd start with 2,000 wins or something important. I was just telling people the story about how you're the only person in the last 20 years I've ever had call me on a hotel room phone and leave a voicemail.
That just shows you how old I am. Plus I think people are more apt to call. I mean, to answer their hotel phone than they are their own personal phone.
You think?
Yeah, because if you're in the room, I mean, it could be an emergency, could be get out or whatever. I mean, I answer my hotel. Because I'm always thinking it could be something. It could be something important from the hotel.
Well, plus with teams, you're used to, so you live a different life than I live. Like, right. You're used to, like, you got to go covert ops, right? So if somebody's got your hotel room phone, they must be somebody you actually want to answer the phone, right?
Yeah, except, hey, man, my players don't answer their phones. So
now,
my players are just like you. When what they'll answer? They'll answer a text.
Dude, I text you. I know it's going to take a couple hours for you to figure out how to type it, but
hey, man, I don't sit around holding my phone. Who hit me to that was Ken Griffey Sr. probably 12 years ago. And he said, hey, man, he'll call Junior, and Junior won't answer the phone. Then he'll text him, and he'll get back to him in 30 seconds.
Yeah, because then we don't gotta have more of a conversation than I don't want to have now. I gotta ask before I move on from this. Don't give me the one you're using now, unless it's the same. There's got to be. You had to have more different names that you've given hotels that you're under. Like you're not Dusty Baker. You're who? Give me an old one that you used to use that you don't use anymore. I don't want anybody to catch you at a hotel you're not supposed to be.
You know something? I always use Dusty Baker, but I would turn
always.
My phone off. Yeah, I would turn my phone off because see, sometimes it would be somebody that I'd want to hear from. You know what I mean? That like one of my homeboys or my cousins that changed towns, and now all of a sudden he'll call. But see, I'll have a do not disturb on my phone so I can call that person back if I want to call them back or not.
Now, if you're in the garden, do you bring the phone out with you? Because for people who don't know, like the real Dusty Baker, I mean that's like your safe haven. That's your joyful spot.
But
like you're not bringing your phone out there.
No, but my wife makes me take it out there. Just in case I fall out in the 110-degree heat in the summertime, and I got to contact somebody because see, one time my dad was working out in the heat, and he never carried his phone out there, and he was working out in the heat, and he had a bad leg, a stiff leg, and so he fell down, couldn't get up, and my stepsister found him on the ground out there in the heat, and who knows how long he'd been.
Oh my gosh!
There. Yeah, so like my wife's always afraid that I'm gonna be out because I'll go out there by myself in a minute. Me and my dog.
Of course. No, I know. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to talk to anybody when you're out there. That's like your serene spot.
Yeah, you got that right. But that's okay. I'm missing it now. My winemaker's taking care of my grapes in my vineyard. My homeboys are harvesting my garlic and my onions right now. The only thing is I don't have a tomato crop, and they're harvesting actually my plums. My wife bought me some of my plums and apricots from my fruit trees, and I'm
okay.
I'm sharing it with some of my players here.
Okay. Now, what's the way of the garden? Like, what's the consent like you just know every day I go into that garden, and even because you probably got some new stuff you like to try, but like, what's your go-to in the garden?
My go-to is probably collard greens.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can and my daughter's go-to, which I grow for her, or kale. Russian kale.
Okay.
And
healthy.
Green kale. Yeah.
I can't do kale bake. You ever those kale chips? You eat those kale chips?
No. You know what I can't do? Hey, you know what I can't do, and that I grow for my cousins, my daughter, and homeboys, eggplant and squash.
I love eggplant. Eggplant. Yes.
Oh, man, I grow like 4 or 5 different kind of eggplants. You know what I mean?
And they're strange looking. They're like big purple, like weird shaped looking. Like nobody knows what an eggplant looks like.
And some of them have like stripes on it, and when they're hanging there from
they got stripes on it. What are they? Gremlins? What do you mean they got stripes? Really? The stripes on eggplants?
Some of them are round. Some of them are football shaped with stripes on them. I don't know the name of them. I can just grow them. I can grow anything.
Is this the most hard hitting interview you've done all year?
Oh, yeah. It's the easiest one, and plus it's the one that I'm more that's most familiar with me.
I know.
As a person, not as a baseball manager.
I love you, man.
Like that.
I gotta, and I want to talk about some of the baseball stuff, but I gotta share one more story. So, and I've said this to you many times. You are the genuine article. Like there are most people. I was saying this earlier, Bake, on the show. Like most people you meet, you don't know if it's a facade, right? Like, are they really as nice and sincere and good people, right? And you hope when you look in the mirror that you're that way, but not everybody that way, right? You're definitely that way. But the first time I realized that you were that way it wasn't the hotel phone, but I think we had worked together like one day. Mm-hmm. And first of all, like you're, who the hell am I? You're too humble. Who the hell cares what I think? But like, you understand teammates. Right. Yeah. You and I have talked about that many times, like people not understanding. And I want to get into this in a second, actually, because I think it's important. But one of the things that I never have forgotten of many that you've told me, and I can't remember every 3-hour story that we've had at a restaurant because then we'll be here forever. But talking about when you tell a player that he's off the next day, right? and making sure he's all. I never forgot when you. I don't want to say explain it to me because it makes sense, but like I want to almost like pause it and I'll complete the thought I had eventually. I promise. But
Yeah.
like that's the how much are those kind of things, the things that you learned as a manager over all these years that have been more important than the X's and O's, but people don't get that.
Well, I think probably equal or greater than the X's and O's. Like I've had some good managers that I learned from, and mostly I've learned from great coaches that I had. I had Preston Gomez, I had Danny Ozark, I had Jim Lefevre. I had one of the greatest of all was Jim Gilliam, and Jim Gilliam taught me, so much about things on and off. And I learned from the Florida about telling guys when they're going to have days off, because this is how he would do us. And there are managers that have taught me how to be, and there's other managers that have taught me how not to be. I had a couple managers say, "Hey man, my door is always open." Boom, boom. So I went in there, talked to him. He asked me, "What the hell are you doing in here?" So I guess that door, he might have.
I must be in the wrong door.
Yeah, exactly. And like I've had some managers that would embarrass you, in front of other players. So I try to not to, embarrass my players in front of their peers unless they choose that form. If they choose it, now we got a problem. But I just assume talk about it in private in my office, and nobody needs to know about anything that's been being said unless you tell it. And
right.
But like I said, I've had some some valuable lessons along the way.
Yeah, and the point being, right, Bake, that like mentally, the baseball season's long.
Yes,
I mean, it's a long season, right? So you got 18 days off, and seemingly like you got 35-day spots where you get none. You tell a guy you got a day off. I mean, he may blow off some steam after a game the night before, right? Maybe
I'm hoping.
right,
no, but I'm hoping he does, because you may
right.
not have that. You may not have that steam to blow off for the next 20 days.
That's right. But some managers, Bake, this.
Yeah.
Some will then, right, ninth inning, but I need you in that spot.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're tapping him on the bench.
Yeah, but that's happened a couple times. And, Barry Bonds, when you got Barry Bonds sitting on the bench.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. How tempting that is. And then Barry would like, hey, man, because one day I put him in the game in the ninth. He tied the game up, and the game went 18 innings or something, right?
He played a whole nother game.
Yeah, exactly. And so his next day off, he goes, "No, Bake, promise me. I'm off the whole day, right?" You don't know how hard that was to say I promised, and I had to do it.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing I'm praying for is a blowout where we don't have to use it.
That's right.
That's
right.
Yeah, so that's what you try to do. But I also tell them, keep the spikes on. Stay alert. I'm going to try to use you only as a pinch hitter that day. You know what I mean? And so that way they can get in and get out. And, things have worked pretty well. I've had some great players. I mean, so on each
Oh,
team.
my God. Are you kidding? I love the. I want to ask you about 2000 in a couple minutes, but
yeah.
I love the Chris Reedon. I think it was Verlander who said he had asked you like about milestones you've seen. Well, I saw Hank break the record and Bonds break the record. I mean, it's amazing the amount of things that you've seen, but that you never forget the person element, right? I mean, that's the most important part of everything. It's the most important for everything we all do, right? We're both dads, family.
And something, Casey, a former general manager told me, he said, which I found it to be perfect description of today. And then he says that we've dehumanized the game. And that was as perfect as you can put it. Because these guys are human. They're not some number. They have feelings. They have sensitivities. They have strengths. They have weaknesses as we all do. They have the same problems. Everybody thinks because you're famous and making pretty good money that you don't have the same problems that everybody else does in society. But your dog's sick, you and your wife had an argument or whatever it is, or something happened where you still have to go to work, even though people don't see it as work. It's a job. Anything that you're working at and getting paid in. And I remember Pete Rose. I was on first base. I was with the Dodgers, and Pete was getting divorced from his wife, and his dad had died, and right in the middle of his 44-game hitting streak. And I asked Pete, I said, "Man, how are you doing this?" And he said, "Dusty," he said, "whatever problems you have when you left the house, or those same problems will be there when you get back home. So you try to use this as a sanctuary away from your problems." Now everybody can't do that. It was difficult for me to do it because it seems like you can't shake problems when you have them, and if you're playing ball and you're about to hit a baseball, and one hundredth of a inch could be the difference between a pop up and a fly ball and a home run. And so it's about concentration and discipline is what it's all about. And that's why I admire Pete Rose. Pete Rose was one of the best baseball players that I've ever played.
No, anyone as ever. And it's so fun because of how true that is. And this is, and I know this from a way lesser standpoint than you as an athlete or as a manager. But the part that, to expound on what you were just saying, it's hard going 0 for 4 in a day, whatever your job is, right? When you got stuff at home. Yeah. But when you're doing it with millions of people watching you, it's way harder. And that's an element people don't like. You're out there, like, if you're in the outfield sitting there between innings trying not to, I can't even imagine, right? Trying not to think about like a divorce or whatever is going on. Right. And then you got to go take an at bat. You also got 50,000 people that in your own home stadium could be booing you if you go strike out. Like, I can't even, I only understand anything of that. That's
somebody
terrible.
Could be sick in your family.
Of course. Death
or
of course, man. They've been never giving you enough credit, man. That's why I'm here.
When I played with Steve Garvey, he would, like, on days, he had migraines quite often. And then you never knew it. I never knew it until I was there a while, and I'd ask him how was he doing, and he said that he would play for a sick person, whether it was his grandma or a little kid that he knew or whatever it is. You have to, and the hard part is finding a motivation every day, because no matter who you are, some days you don't feel like going to work.
That's why when they say never gives up an at bat in a 162 game season, because life, right?
Yeah.
We all given up at bats.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was told by Luke Appling when he was one of my coaches in Atlanta. He said, "Dusty, quit giving away at bats." And I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. You know what I mean? And he also told me to be lucky, which I tell my guys, to be lucky, you got to think lucky. Take a bad hop or get in the sun or whatever. And he told me you give away at bats by swinging at a bad 0-0 pitch that puts you in a hole 0-1, or taking a good 2-1 pitch that puts you at 2-2, and now you're in a strikeout, defensive situation. This is how you give away at bats, by not concentrating and not. And I tell you again, I go with Pete Rose and Hank Aaron and Barry Bonds. They did not give away at bats. I don't care what the score was, and that's the same thing I told my son, and he's getting pretty good at it.
Yeah, how about? What is that like for you, watching all that?
Well,
like watching him grow, not only as a person, babe, but the baseball part of it.
Well, it's really pretty cool. The only thing is, it makes me nervous to have to go watch him, because I get more nervous at his games than I did at any of mine.
Right, right. Yes.
For your kid, or if a ball's hit to him, and you're like, Lord, let him catch it, and he catches them. Still, you're always trying to dispel those negative thought processes. You know what I mean? And I remember my dad. He came to all my games, but I'm a little different than my dad because my dad would only tell me I did pretty good, no matter how great I did. I said, "Dad, how'd I do?" "Oh, that was pretty good." You know what I
He
mean?
leaving room. He's
Yeah,
leaving room. He don't want you to settle, right?
there was always room. He left a lot of room. So, and so that's the one difference is, like the old dudes back in the day, they didn't tell boys that they loved them. They told girls that they loved them. You know what I mean? And shoot, I was 30 years old. So I know my dad loved the heck out of me, but I was 30 years old before he told me he loved me. And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I like, me too. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I try to tell my son he does well, good job, and I try to tell him that I love him, on a daily basis, and we tell each other. So
I want to ask you one thing about 2000, and then I'll close with and pay off that story I was going to tell quickly and let you run. When I'm talking to somebody who has now, when I say hung out with, I mean, it may sound like it was longer than what, but anybody who's even seen Jimi Hendrix, for me, because I mean, when I think about the list of people like I wish were still around, right? I love music.
Oh yeah.
When I'm talking to somebody who's hung with Jimmy and done all the baseball things you've done, and then I hear this is the top when you talked about that moment after winning 2000, I got to know why. Why? Why was that the top? What was that feeling like once it sunk in? What was it because of the journey? Was it because of being the first African American manager to do it? Combination?
Yeah.
What was that feeling for you?
It was a combination of things. A combination of thinking about my dad, thinking about the different managers that I played for, and some of them I passed. And it's sort of weird to think about. I passed Lasorda, I passed Leo DeRocha. I didn't play for him, but here I am about to pass Walter Olson, one of my first managers that I had, and just think about the time. That's a long time, a lot of victories, but it's gone by very quickly. That's the thing about life. I don't care how old you are. It seems to go by quickly. And then I'm looking on my wall here that I have in my office. I got like Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, also John Lee Hooker, and I just got a new one of Gary Clark Jr.
Nice.
Yeah, to go along with them old dudes, So it's music sets a tone for my life on a daily basis. First thing I do in the morning, I get up, whatever I want to listen to. Depends on how aggressive I want to be, or if I need to mellow down. Listen to all kind of genres, and it's I don't know what I'd do without music. I mean, someday
Amen.
Someday I'd do without baseball, but I'd never do without.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And look, you survived working with me for 2 years, so you can do anything.
It was really cool.
How many was it?
Yeah, it was cool, man. I don't know.
I feel like everything that you've earned since is all my. No, it's not my credit. But I love you. But I got to tell you the story because I know you got to go.
Yeah.
And day game after a night game, and you're trying to beat up my Mets again, which is just making me feel bad.
Yeah.
Sorry. The second, sure you are. I sure you are. Sure you are. I remember texting you when you were with the Nets. I'm like, can you go easy? Really? Come on now.
The Mets are good. I don't care.
Hey, they are good. Hey, you may
good.
be seeing them down the road. I mean,
I heard that. Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Especially because that DeGrom and that Scherzer guy, who you know well, they're pretty good. So
I'm telling you, they're without them.
But not as good as a massage, and that's where I want to weirdly end this story. So we worked together one day, and you were now like I know like when it's like your first day of school, like you're trying to like make sure that everybody kind of you're comfortable and kind of fit in. I feel that every time because what you've done in your life compared to me in this sport. I mean, please. But you asked me to come down to the bottom of the hotel. This is a true story. And this is, and I share this only because I want people like, this is, you are the genuine article. I walked down to the hotel and you said, you're going to go over there at a desk and I've already set you up with an hour-long massage before we go into the studio today. Now, I'm telling you right now, like I work for a lot of places.
Yeah.
it was hard to get a free coffee at some point. So I want to tell you, I never forgot that. I don't know if I've had one since, but at some point, I'm going to turn that around, and you're going to walk in somewhere. I'm going to tell Gene, who's making sure all this is going to happen. I'm just going to be like, here's a massage for you.
Yeah, but you know something? I don't get enough massages myself. Now, I usually get them once a year when I go to Hawaii a couple of times when I'm over there, but I should get massages more. I mean, that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all should.
Thank you very much for reminding me of that.
See?
Yeah, my wife, she tells me, go get a massage. I'm like, I don't have time to get a massage. And it's like, well, you got to make time.
Hey, look, man.
Yeah.
When I get an Emmy for this interview that we discussed hotel phones and massages, we'll go get one together. You know I love you, bro. Be well. Go easy on my Mets today, and we'll catch up soon. Appreciate you, Bake.
All right, see you in New York.
All right, buddy. We'll do. The man, the myth, the legend, Dusty Baker. I mean, that is as genuine a dude as literally I have ever. I have said this. You can look at my Twitter. I've probably said this a million times. It feels like there I am over exaggerating again, but maybe 100 times over the last few years since. What have I been friends with Bake? I guess, geez, I don't know, 8 years or whatever it is. I'm telling you, as genuine a human as you have ever met, and no offense to another Casey, except his last name, the mayor. The mayor, there's only one person I've ever been around enough, where I could say friend, right? Where I'm like, is there anyone this dude doesn't know? Give you an example. And I'm looking at my dog who's sleeping over here. I walk around, I'm approachable, I think. I don't usually have these on. I'm going to be on Obi-Wan next week. If you're listening to the podcast, I'm wearing headphones that look like I'm about to beam up somewhere. But I got my dog over here. I'm approachable. Nobody wants to talk to me. They just want to talk to the dog. The dog can't talk to you, people. He's old. He's cute. He can't talk to you. He just wants to pee. I say that because you be around Bake. Nobody talking to you about anything. Nobody's saying anything. All you do is listen because the dude's stories are bananas and he is off his rocker. But he's the best, man. He is absolutely, and I could say this because I know I can call him this, but I call him the old goat. He is something else and something special. We have a lot more special coming at you and to you, and some longer versions too of the podcast as well. But I'm just going to keep kind of churning these out. We got some great guests coming. Hope you enjoyed Dusty Baker. Hope you're enjoying Unfiltered. Please hit me up on Twitter at Casey Stern. We got another list that's coming soon. So I've got my idea for the second one. But if you've got one, if you listen to the first episode that you want to kind of hit me up and say, hey, this is where we should roll with, you let me know, and I'll let you know whether or not you've made the cut.
Thank you for watching Believe. You can find more great content at Believe.com. That's BLEAV.com. Do you believe?